Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we install a garage door opener. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel.
Thanks for tuning in.
To all of our new viewers that are just checking out these videos, we thought we'd give you a brief history on the property.
So a few years ago, we purchased an 1830s stone house that sits on 4 acres.
When we bought the house, it was in very rough shape. The floor beams were rotten, the electrical was out of date, and the heating system was decommissioned. In order to live in the house, we had to do a major renovation that included rebuilding the house from the basement up.
Along the way, we weren't able to take videos, but we did get a whole bunch of pictures.
I put all those pictures into a slideshow video that you can find here. We saw a very good response from this slideshow, so when we went ahead with building our addition, we decided to film along the way.
We wanted to be able to keep our family and friends who live out of town updated on our progress.
So far, we've got an amazing response from all of our videos, and we would like to keep taking you guys along for the journey.
So stay tuned.
In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the LiftMaster 8500C wall mount direct drive garage door opener. If you're just here to check out the installation, I will leave a timestamp in the description and you can jump ahead. So as you can see, the garage door opener is mounted right on the end of the torsion tube, and the torsion tube runs all the way across the top of the garage door. Right above my head is the spring. The spring and torsion tube should already be installed with your garage door package, and it is required to use one of these openers. When initially installed, that spring is wound very tight. All that force in the spring goes through the torsion tube, goes to the drums on the outside of the torsion tube, and down through a cable all the way to the bottom of your garage door. By using the force of the spring, you can take a garage door that would typically weigh 150 pounds or more, and you can make that garage door feel like 30 pounds or less. This makes it a lot easier if you're manually lifting the door or if you're using an opener of any kind. A conventional garage door has the light built in to the motor unit. In this case, they send a wireless light unit. So the light plugs into power, but there's a wireless signal that will turn the light on when you operate the garage door. This is very handy when you come in at night into a dark garage and you need a little bit of light to see. Mounted on the track is a lock system. So with that pin out, that wheel won't be able to go past. So this locks your garage door. So the big selling feature for us is how quiet these are supposed to operate. By being direct drive and wall mounted, it's supposed to be a lot smoother, and any vibration it's supposed to send down through the wall rather than through the ceiling. A typical garage door opener has the motor, the track, and the chain all mounted to the ceiling. In this case is the second floor of the next level, which is our bedrooms and living space. So the biggest disadvantage I could see with this garage door opener is it is not set up nicely for retrofits. If you don't already have the wall outlet or the torsion tube above the garage door, then the hassle to install this is going to be more than what it's worth. Now, talking about what it's worth, there's another huge disadvantage. This garage door opener is about double of what an overhead system would cost. So I have the box opened up. I'll just go over some of the parts here that they send. So of course, you have the garage door opener and the battery backup capable sticker on it. They're really promoting that. I think it's kind of useless, especially for where we live. Our electrical grid is pretty stable. There might be a couple times a year that we don't have power. In those cases, you can manually release the garage door. So they send the string and the handle right there that connects to the bottom. When you pull on that cable of the garage door opener, it manually releases the opener, so then you can open and close the garage door by hand. And then we have the coupler. One end goes on the end of that rod up there, and the other end is going to go down on the garage door opener. And of course, you can do the left or the right, depending if you want to go on mount on the left side or mount on the right side of the door. So of course, you have the hardware bag. Here's the in-car remote. Here's the wall switch. There's a motion sensor on the bottom. You can have it set up so when the wall mount detects motion, it will turn your garage light on. Then you can manually turn your light on and off with that button. There's also a timer to close the door after a certain duration. By opening it up, you can turn your timer on and off. There's a motion sensor on and off. There's a learn button to set up the remotes to your car. And then there is a lock button that will lock out your car remotes. As well, there's the sensors for the invisible laser beam that goes across the bottom to make sure that nothing's in the way when the door's closing. And those are the brackets to hold it on. Now here's something you typically don't see. It's an automatic lock. So once it's installed, that pin will come out and it will stop the wheels and the track from moving up and down. So that'll lock out your garage door. And then here there's a cable tension monitoring system. That mounts flat to the wall and the cable will go over that roller. In normal condition, it is out away from the wall. If there's too much slack in the cable, it'll close and it will send a signal to stop your garage door opener from opening up. It's kind of a neat design. Since the garage door opener is a direct drive on the end of that tube, it's going to keep spinning and pushing that cable down, whether the garage door is going down or not. So this would be a case if the garage door got jammed up. If too much slack built up in that cable, it will come off the drum. So I'm just getting all the tools lined up. So I got to put this bracket on here. So the bracket goes on the side that this collar is going to be installed on. For that bracket, we needed to install these black screws, which is going to be an 8mm or a 5/16. It is one of the sizes that does convert from metric to imperial. There are a couple other sizes. You can use 1/2 inch and 13mm, 3/4 and 19mm. And sometimes if you're in a pinch, you can use an 11mm or a 7/16. But of course, it's always best to use the proper size. So for installing those bolts, I'm going to use the ratchet with my 5/16 on there. And then eventually I'm going to have to put these wood screws in. And for that, I'm going to use the 3/8 socket and an adapter. Now, if you've never seen these adapters, they're actually pretty neat. So if some of you guys have an impact or a drill or both, this adapter will allow you to put on sockets. For the impact, that just pops right in. You put your socket on the end of that. There, and now you can drive hex head bolts and screws into the wall or wherever you need to do. Now you got to be careful though, the impact and the drill can be pretty powerful. So if you go too hard, you'll strip some of these out. So just go nice and gently. For the sake of this bracket, I'm going to use the ratchet. It's going to be a lot nicer to put those bolts in without stripping anything out. Since that bracket is adjustable, I want to leave it loose for now. That way when I put it on the wall, I have a little bit of adjustment and don't have to loosen it off. So on the bottom here, there's this safety release mechanism. Once I got the garage door opener in place, I realized these screws were at the back so I couldn't reach them. So before I tightened the torsion bar side, which is the garage door side of the screws, I was able to release this and spin the whole coupler and tighten those screws up. So those screws are on and they're all tight, and I aligned everything so that I could still be off of the door track but have some space there to hit that stud, because right in behind here's a stud. So you got to make sure that these wood screws that are going to go in are going to match to a stud. So you can see why I left this bracket loose. We'll have to put a level along the back side of there, and once that's in place, we'll be able to tighten up this bracket wherever it needs to go, drill the pilot holes, and then install the legs into the stud. So now that the garage door opener is sitting up there kind of loose, I'm going to take a 1/8 inch drill bit and drill a pilot hole for these leg screws. And then these leg screws are going to mount the garage door opener to the stud, and it will be securely mounted. And then it's just time for wiring a bunch of things. Alright, we got the garage door opener installed, and now we're going to install this power lock. Still don't know how I feel about this thing. It's a big bulky item to install. You coming to help me out today? So it has to be mounted within 10 feet of the garage door opener and preferably on the same side according to the instructions, so that's no problem. And it's suggested to be mounted on the second roller up. So the very bottom we have that roller. Now we're going to go to this roller, and it's going to sit over here. I don't know if I like it sitting there though. I would think sitting right there would be better. You know what? I think we're going to do that, because I know what's going to happen is that's going to be a place for hockey sticks and shovels, and all of the lawn tools are going to end up leaning in that there or that corner there. So I think by putting that power lock up top on that roller there, it'll be closer to the garage door opener for the wiring. So I think that's what we're gonna do. So I'll mark everything out. I'll put that template on and gonna drill this. So the top and bottom mounting hole are a 5/16 drill, and the center hole is a 3/4, and that's listed on the template. And I already drilled the template using the 3/16 drill bit from previously installing the legs. That just gives a nice pilot hole to keep everything straight. So now I'm going to go through and drill everything with the 5/16. I was able to find a 3/4 twist drill in my collection. So I got the holes drilled through in the track. They're a little rough on the inside and outside just because it's thin steel and I was using twist drills. You could probably have a lot better luck with a step drill. I will show a picture of that right here of what I'm talking about. But for now, I have a countersink in my collection. So I'm gonna go through and countersink these holes. It's gonna clean up the rough edge, make everything nice and smooth. Alternatively, you could use a file. Using a countersink adds a nice touch, creates a nice soft edge. So there's no sharp edges on the inside or outside there. And that almost looks like a factory install. So the holes are drilled. We're gonna now install this lock. And to install that, we're gonna use these screws here. They have a Phillips head on one side and they're nice and flat. So when they sit in the track, they will clear the wheel. There, so I got that in there loose, just checking all the clearances. Everything works good. I can tighten that up and then I can run the wire up to the garage door opener and hopefully the power lock is done. So I'm getting to this cable tension monitor like I mentioned was supplied. All the instructions say is it was shipped for a left-hand install, and I don't know if I'm doing a right-hand install or what the deal is if you're looking at the front or the back of the door. Anyway, all this sensor does is it stays out, and then once there's no tension on the cable, it clicks. So the best I could come up with is installing it right in here. The only concern is the garage door can't hit it, but it satisfies the diagram in the book saying that it has to be 2 to 6 inches down from the drum, and that seems to work. So when I switched it from a left hand to a right hand, that seems to fit in there. So I'm gonna install that up in there, throw a couple screws on it. So there's the install I chose to go with. It's hanging down from the drum, so that moves in and out. So once there's slack on this cable, this is gonna drop into the switch, and it's gonna trigger the garage door opener to go back down. I just got to run this cable over to the opener, and then the tension monitor system is installed. All of these cables I'm just gonna leave loose for now. I got some small clamps. I'm just gonna clamp them up against the wall, but I want to leave it like that until I figure out how we're gonna finish the inside of the garage. I think we're probably gonna go with drywall. I know for the ceiling we have to go with drywall for sure as a fire barrier. If we want to clad it and anything after that, like steel, we can. So without knowing how the walls are gonna go or where we're gonna tuck wiring, I'm just gonna leave everything a little loose. I'm gonna leave everything a little long so we don't have to cut it and be short of wire later on. So for the cable tension monitoring system, the cables came stripped already, but I had to cut them down a little bit more. There's actually a diagram inside here. There's actually it's an actual size drawing, so you can lay the cables up to it and see how long. And then I got to trim them off a little bit more. So I'll trim them off to 7/16, and like I say, it shows the actual size. And then I just got to pop them into the top connector. So the next step is figuring out where we're going to mount the switches for the garage door opener. I am thinking right around here. This is the hallway when you come out of the house. So when you're kind of walking into the garage, right there. So go there, we go there. I think we're gonna go. So I think we're gonna go in this opening. I'll have to cut a block of wood to give this some backing. And like I say, that's for now. I don't know how we're gonna finish off the interior or when we're gonna finish it off. So for now, like I say, cut a block of wood. We mount these up. So I changed my mind on the stud spacing. I'm going to go in this end one here. So I got my block of wood cut. It fits nice in there. So I'm going to put that in, and then I'm ready to have some backing for the switch. So in the instructions, they show you just wiring up the back of the switch. So I got the bottom locked on the screw, and now it's time to put in the top screw. Alright, I'm second guessing my switch install here. The wires are coming out the side, but I think I want them coming out the back, and then I can tuck them all up into the wall, especially if I'm going to have 2 more switches here. So I'm going to take this back off, and I'm going to drill a hole through the wall, and I'm going to run the wires out the back. Red installed. Now I got to install the white. Alright, now I've got my garage door opener installed. I got the wires run in behind, so I'll have to run the wires up through the joists and over to the opener, and then the switch will be ready. So I'm not going to bore you with the video of running the wire. It was pretty straightforward. I was able to drill some holes in the floor joists and run across the headers. The one thing I didn't look into was the length of what was supplied. So I'm going to say that is maybe 25 feet, could be 30 feet of wire. It might sound like a lot of wire, but when you have to go up and down and through the joists and get to your wall switch, then it adds up pretty quick how much wire you end up using. So the next thing I'm going to have to do before I do the other 2 garage doors and run the wall switch, I'll have to order a chunk of this wire. With everything being in lockdown, I'm not able just to run to the hardware store today and find some thin 2 wire. Now for installing the wire, for running it across anything flat, I was able to use these clips. I ordered these ahead of time off Amazon. They were a couple bucks for a pack of 100, which should be enough to do all the doors. I only used probably 5 or 6 on this one, and I might use a few more with the longer runs. But those are handy to have, and like I say, the only other thing is I'll have to order some more cable, but I have enough to tie in this garage door opener. So since I only have about 4 feet, maybe 5 feet extra, I'm just going to bunch it up like the other wires, and I'll use these clips to put it on the wall. So these brackets here are going to hold on the sensors. These sensors are going to shoot across the bottom of the door to make sure that nobody's in the way. That's to make sure no kids are running through, or there's no nothing fell in between the door, to make sure the door is safe to close. So we are going to go ahead and install that. These brackets seem pretty straightforward to install. So in the bottom of the sensor, you slide in the carriage bolt. Then that is going to slide into this bracket. So we're going to use the wing nut on the back side. So I'm going to guess that the wing nut is there to adjust it. I know some of the problems with these is everything gets piled up into the corner and you end up knocking it, or you walk by and you kick it. So if your door is not closing, we'll be able to go through and adjust it quickly with the wing nut to be able to allow the door to close. There, so that bracket just clips on. We'll have to make sure the other side's at the same height. We'll get that wired in, and we'll do some adjusting for that. Got all the sensors installed. I have to run a plug, so I'm going to run down through the joist, and I'm going to put a plug here for the garage door opener. But for now, I'm just going to test it with an extension cord. So the install is all done. You got to make sure that when you plug it in, one sensor has the orange LED, and you got to make sure that the other sensor has the green. So the green one's the one to watch out for. By moving that wing nut around on both sides, you can change where the beam ends up. So if you're not lit up, either you have a wiring issue or that sensor is not aligned with the other one. And there's actually quite a bit of adjustment of allowable space in there. I played around with them a little bit, and you can move them around quite a bit. So I'll do it here. So we're going to press and hold it till that is a slow flash. So I can now release it. I can press and hold it, and the door is going to go up, and I'm going to stop the door where we want it. So that's where I want the door. It's a little low. I'm going to go a little bit higher, so I'll press that button again just a little bit. So that brings the door up just a little bit more. That'll give us full height. And by pressing the button, it's going to lock that, and it's going to start coming down. So as the door's on its way down, press and hold that button so it's flashing. And now we're going to set the down limit. And of course, nothing can be blocking the beam. Right, Willow? And that's exactly what that beam is for. So now that I have Willow clear, I'm just going to press and hold. and I'm just watching the seal on the bottom. If it goes down too far, you can go back up with the black button, or you go back down more with the yellow. So now that it's set, just gonna take the remote, and that set the low position. It's gonna come back up. So now I press the wall mount, it's gonna go back down. Lock pulls out, and then once that's down, the automatic lock comes out. Still have to wait to get some outlets to the garage door opener and the light itself, but hopefully this is helpful. Maybe in the next couple months I can leave a review of how well this works. I hope you enjoyed this video. One thing that would really help me out is if you could hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Even hitting the like button, that helps me know that you're enjoying these videos. The more interest I get, the more videos I can get out. And leave a comment on what you like. If you want any more in-depth videos, just throw it in the comments below. I will see what I can do, and I would probably be happy to make something. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Take care.